All hail Carsillo's Top 10!
What's up, everybody? How's it going? And welcome to a very special mini-sode of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo. And that, of course, is my best friend in the entire world, Lee Elias. And Lee, it is time for my annual Top 10 Games of the Year.
You're watching the annual Top 10 Games of the Year with Ray Carsillo, sponsored by us. We have no work, no money, and we're here to play. Thank you for joining us. Ray, let's dive right into this. All right, for those of you listening, again, I teased this on our main episode this week. Ray Carsillo, former reviews editor for EGM Magazine, has dedicated his life to gaming. I have said it. He has forgot more about games than you will remember. He is a gaming connoisseur. He knows his stuff. When he says, play this game, you play that game. And Ray, I'm very excited to hear your top 10 of the year.
Yes, this was a very interesting year for games. Also, just really quickly, I beat 65 games this year and 3 DLC. The 3 DLC, of course, not eligible for Game of the Year because I'm not the Game Awards and I have some credibility. And of course, 43 of those 65 games that I beat were eligible for this list because they were, again, if it was a 20th anniversary, like Beyond Good and Evil 20th anniversary edition, obviously that is not eligible for this year's Game of the Year because it was just a new coat of paint. System Shock 30th anniversary edition, not eligible for this year, but I beat it this year just to let you know how many games and how much games I played. 43 games I played.
93.5% of these games will not make the list today.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, I did the math on the calculator because I can't think.
Yes. And then there were some games that people were like, they were up for Game of the Year and they didn't make my list. People were like, what about Metaphor Refantasio? No. I played 12 hours of that, was bored to death. No. What about Balatro? No. A fun little game, maybe if this was a top 20 list, but no. But there are some divisive picks. Some people I've talked to privately about my list, they think it's the greatest list ever. And some people think I'm a moron. Those people are morons because my list is the list. Anyway, at least for me and for us. We're going to kick it off with number 10. This one I was a little surprised by, but how much I liked it. Because I'm not a fan of the IP. Nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not something I got into because it's very deep and it's very intensive. But I'm sure Henry Cavill will appreciate that I put this game on the list. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is my number 10 game of the year.
Wow, there you go. That's a pick right on the start. Controversial pick. I love it.
Yes. It is. I don't want to insult it by saying this, but it's a poor man's Gears of War in terms of the gameplay. Right? It feels good to be this heavy, hulking space marine, to go into cover, to be taking on all of these alien swarms and all these bugs and all these monsters and whatnot. And it feels good. It's a good, solid shooter. It's got good, solid mechanics. I like that it has co-op missions. Its multiplayer is solid. It's good 6v6. It is overall just a very, very solid game. And even as somebody, if I liked Warhammer 40K, this might be higher on my list. But as somebody who has no attachment to the IP and is coming into it fresh, was still like, this is a damn good game. And it's so good that it makes my top 10 as number 10. So that's number 10.
Number 10.
Number 9. This is a game that was much maligned because of its technical issues at launch. And I will also admit that if it was not so technically busted, probably would be higher on the list. But I still loved it. I still love my time in this universe. I still loved playing as Kay. And of course, I love Star Wars. Star Wars Outlaws makes the list at number 9. If it had a better launch, I mean, I came on here and talked about the technical issues and how sad I was. I almost lost my game at one point. But even despite that, especially now with DLC is out, and obviously that game has been supported and they have fixed a lot of the bugs. And again, when I did end up beating it, I loved it. I love the worlds. I love this time era in Star Wars. We talked about Skeleton Crew and how it kind of takes place during the rise of the Empire, Lee? Right?
We're not. This is a problem with that. We're not really sure.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So that's one of the fun parts of the show. I think I know what it is, but I don't want to come to any conclusions. But this is about you and your world.
But the Star Wars Outlaws during the rise of the Empire and whatnot, I love Star Wars Outlaws. I put it on 9 on the list. Number 9 on the list. This one also had some technical issues. And it's funny because they over-gamified it. If this game had less collectibles and actually had less to do and was a little more linear, I think this might have been higher on the list. But because there's a lot of bloat, because it feels like they had to have, they were pressured to be like, we need to make this with 500 collectibles. We need to have players stay in this world for longer for some reason. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is my number 8 game of the year. And it took me 33 hours to 100% it. And if it took maybe 23 hours, it might have been higher on the list. But there is just so much unnecessary miscellaneous garbage that it actually gets bogged down at points if you try. In fact, I've talked to people that said, oh yeah, I didn't 100% it and I loved it way more than you did. And to me, that's a problem. And I think, and actually this is something that Ubisoft with Star Wars Outlaws does very well, is that the collectible grind, the searching for all this stuff, never got boring in Star Wars Outlaws. It got boring in Indiana Jones. But Indiana Jones' main story is so good. And also so much credit to Troy Baker, who, he did an impersonation of Mark Hamill for Batman Arkham Origins years ago. And I was like, it sounds like Troy Baker doing a Mark Hamill impersonation. There were moments where I had to remind myself, oh my God, this is Troy Baker sounding like Indiana Jones, right? Not sounding like Harrison Ford, sounding like Indiana Jones. Obviously it's Harrison Ford. It sounds like Harrison Ford's voice, but it's the inflection. He really, really nailed this, and credit where it is due. I think this is one of Troy Baker's best performances, and really loved all the characters and loved the game, and just wish it wasn't so gamey in a lot of ways.
Ray, how fast do you think you would have got through it if you just did the main storyline?
20. I think less than 20 hours.
Wow.
I think there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff there that was unnecessary. And it bogs it down, and it bogs it all the way down to 8 on the list. Number 7. This is an interesting one because this is kind of where games are going in terms of like people loving it. It's particle effects and it's little pieces and it's more about physics and things like that nature and less about just super graphical power. And I'll say this, I still think Mario is the best platformer out there and available, but boy, has Sony found something that they should continue to build on with Astrobot. It feels like they do one a generation, and Astrobot was phenomenally done and phenomenally put together. And I think that for kids who may have that, who may be getting into Astrobot or growing with Astrobot, right? And they may end up getting that love that we had, Lee, growing up with Mario. This may become that franchise for Sony. Yeah. It's not there yet, but it may become there, and they should continue to invest in this franchise. Astrobot, phenomenal platformer, number 7.
We will not tell Crash Bandicoot you said that.
Crash is now owned by Microsoft. So.
I know, it's the funny part.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So if Astrobot wants to replace, again, I know a lot of folks love Crash Bandicoot, and that's fine. Astrobot is the way to go for Sony.
Yeah. Again, for the younger listeners, Crash was at one point the Mario of the PlayStation. Long time ago. Yeah.
But, long time ago. And then it was forgotten, and it faded away.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah. Moving on. Number 6, Marvel Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why this isn't higher is because I need to see how they continue to roll out content, right? We only got season 0 basically in 2024, and season 1 is going to be dropping, I think, basically the same day as this episode or right around there, with the Fantastic Four being added to the game. But if you loved Overwatch, this is everything Overwatch did right, and it fixes everything Overwatch did wrong, and it's Marvel. What else can you ask for? If they ever add like a true single player to this, this could become a competitive gaming powerhouse, the likes of we haven't seen in a long time. But I absolutely love my time with Marvel Rivals. I could not put it down. I won my 100 matches. I quick play all the time. I main Iron Man. I bounce around with. I have put more time into every character. Unlike Overwatch, where I quickly found my favorites, there are some characters I don't like, but I am happy playing a variety of characters in this, and I can't say that about Overwatch. I can say that about Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Plus, the team-ups are awesome. Environment destructibility is awesome. The maps are cool. Marvel Rivals number 6. Number 5. This was a game that was in my top spot for a long time. Came out early in the year. And this is a game that folks might have slept on or might not even heard of. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. It's set in 17th century colonial America. You play as basically a ghost detective.
I remember this. Yeah.
And you basically there's 30 different cases set around the world, and you get to decide the fate of these ghosts. And kind of similar to Mass Effect, there's a moral meter, right? Do you absolve the ghost? Do you send the ghost to hell? And depending on what you do, changes the world around you and how people perceive you. And there are some technical issues. It doesn't do anything new gameplay-wise that we haven't seen, but it takes the best part of several other games and puts it in a wonderful, wonderful story. I said it again. Don't Nod, the French developer who made it, they made Life is Strange. They made Remember Me. They are some of the best storytellers in gaming. They do it again with this. If you want a good narrative and you want something that you can sink your teeth into for 40 to 60 hours and makes it feel like your choices matter, do yourself a favor. Get Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. Absolutely worthy of a top 5 spot. It's number 5 on the year for me. So,
I remember you talking about that one, Ray. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and it stayed on the list. It stayed on the list for much of the year. So, for the whole year, basically since it came out. Slipped down to 5, but still very, very good. Number 4, another early year game. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. And what a sin that this team ended up getting dissolved because the DLC didn't sell well. And look, Ubisoft's got problems. Hot take, Ubisoft will no longer be an independent company by the end of the year. Ubisoft is going to get bought by somebody. They are in trouble. That said, they've got 2 games on the top 10 list this year.
Well, that's good.
Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. So well done. Just a perfect Metroidvania. If you love Prince of Persia, this is just a wonderful, again, great story, but tremendous action, tip-top gameplay, just really, really tight, just sang on all levels for me. Could not get enough of it. Again, 100%ed it. Still have to play the DLC, but the 100% of the main game. Absolutely love this. I've always been a fan of Prince of Persia, really since the sands of time. And I think that if you are new to the franchise, but you love Metroidvanias, give this game a look. It deserves it. It's too late for the team, unfortunately, but you should still play this game for yourself.
And honor the team.
Yes, honor their work. That's a great way to describe it.
All right, we're getting to the top 3 now, which is sponsored by Ray's beard, shaved off a few months ago.
Yes.
But Ray, let's get into it. The top 3 games of the year with Ray Carsillo.
This first one probably not going to surprise a lot of folks because I'm wearing a Legend of Zelda shirt, and I love the Legend of Zelda and always have. And I don't understand the people who hated on this game, especially because, if you like Link to the Past and you like Tears of the Kingdom and they had a baby and then you get to play as Zelda, that's this game. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Freaking phenomenal. You get the puzzle-solving freedom of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, right? Where you can build a bridge out of beds or, use a pea hat to fly across a gap. PEA for all you sickos out there, by the way. Anyway, Echoes. Hey, it's the gaming audience. I gotta. You never know.
I'm with you.
Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, it is worthy of being Zelda's first game as the main character. Well, yeah, really the main character in terms of where you play as her. There are games you've gotten to play as her a little bit, but you play as her for 90% of this game. Yeah, this is her game. Really well done. If you love The Legend of Zelda, do yourself a favor and play this. And I don't understand the people who ragged on this game, because if you love Zelda, this is
we don't need to even acknowledge them, right? Be honest with you.
Yeah, like
this is your top 10.
I was gonna say, just admit that you didn't like the fact that you had to play as Zelda and not Link. Ooh, shots fired. Just saying. But number 3, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Number 2, again.
So we might be able to guess your top 1 here. This is a big one.
Yeah, you can probably guess my top 1 if you've listened to the show. Number 2, Dungeons of Hinterberg, a Game Pass game. Absolutely phenomenal. If you like Zelda, this kind of... if you like Tears of the Kingdom, if you like Breath of the Wild, but you felt that if the old school Zelda games had like a dozen big dungeons, and then Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom have like 120 like tiny dungeons, this has 25 dungeons and kind of splits the difference in size with them. It's a fun world. It takes place in modern era. The idea is that magic has leaked through and is now part of the real world, and you play as somebody who's trying to get to the bottom of it, and you explore these 25 dungeons. It's a fun world, beautifully crafted, an indie game that deserves a ton of love. Again, it's on Game Pass. A lot of folks, I think, slept on it because it came out over the summer. Play Dungeons of Hinterberg. Again, if you love dungeons and you love action adventure, this is a must play. And I think you're going to love the main character. I think you're going to love the world. I think you're going to love the idea. And they even said they left it open for a possible sequel. I couldn't get enough of it. It was again, another game I 100%ed, by the way. Dungeons of Hinterberg. It's on Game Pass still. Go play it. Wonderful game. Number 2.
Okay. Those of you at home, those of you listening, those of you watching, those of you looking at this content on the internet, it is time for Raymond Carsillo to unveil his top game of the year. I know from listening to him speak, I'll let him announce it. Played hours on this game. Could not get enough of this game. Loved every second of this game. Annoyingly. And that's a good thing on this show. He is a geek for this game who likes sports. Ray, your game of the year.
Took me 70 hours, and I 100%ed this as well.
I was living this journey with you in a lot of ways.
Yes. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Ba, ba, ba. And look, let me get it out of the way for the folks.
Not just a da-na-na-na.
Well, that's Legend of Zelda, so that was...
I don't care what it is. That's what we're doing here.
Yes. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And let me get it out of the way for the folks who we talked about it on the show, the controversy. If you were mad about the non-binary character, go jump off, whatever. Go at it. Get out of here. And I'll say this. And there were some folks who felt that maybe the character wasn't as well written as she could have been to represent that community. And I can't speak to that. And that's totally valid if that's the way you feel and you're part of that community. But I'm saying for my experience, playing the game and falling in love with every single one of these characters and enjoying this adventure and having, after 10 years, some threads from the original trilogy finally being neatly tied up, but also setting up another possible game and spending time in this world that I absolutely adore. Again, spent 70 hours in it. By far the most I've spent in any game this year that I wasn't streaming as a sports game, and that kind of doesn't count. I couldn't get enough of it. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want it to end. But when it did, I felt so immensely satisfied, so happy that I played it. I liked the tweaks that they made to combat. Again, I loved the team. I loved the characters. I loved the way it was written. The game was beautiful. I really don't remember, like, there may have been a bug at some point. Like, it was a very polished game. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I can't sing its praises enough, folks. Like, for me and my experience this year, it was the best story. It was the most fun I had. I could not put it down. Again, 100%ed it over 70 hours. Dragon Age: The Veilguard, my number 1.
I'm going to say the biggest compliment I think you can give any piece of art is I did not want to leave that world. I did not want to leave the book. I did not want to leave the movie. I did not want to leave the game. And whenever you say that, and Ray, a few of these games probably could have had that, but not to the extent. I remember you playing this game, calling me about this game. And again, I've known you a very long time. I can tell when you're really excited about something.
Yes.
And there's a
and it doesn't happen very often anymore, folks.
No, there was a childhood glimmer in the way you were speaking about this that some of these other games doesn't have. Some of these games are like, oh, I appreciate the craftsmanship. This game wasn't like this. This was Lee, I can't talk right now. I'm battling something. I have to go.
Yeah. I have to go fight more dragons. I have to go fight more dragons.
And I was like, I have the children, so I have to go fight some dragons too. Yeah. So I will be back. But yeah, I love it, Ray. The top 10, strong top 10. Obviously, let us know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
In a nice way, you morons on the internet.
Yes.
Okay? He's entitled to his opinion.
Absolutely. Look, we can have a conversation, but a conversation is not death threats. No more death threats.
No. We're going to put this up. We're going to put up a picture of his top 10 games. And Ray, fantastic stuff as always. Put a lot of time into this stuff, man, throughout the year. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, again, played 65 games, played and beat. I played more, but I beat 65 games this year.
Count if you don't beat it. Yeah.
100% did a great many of them. 43 of them were eligible for Game of the Year. And again, I know some people are going to disagree with this list. Again,
that's okay. That's okay.
Absolutely.
You're the authority, though, and they're not. Just closing it out. I remember some years you played over 100 games. So I think when a game takes 80 hours to beat, actually, that shows you that the streak is not really your goal. It's finding the good games, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yes.
Great stuff, Ray.
Right. Thank you, buddy. So that does it for the Geeks Who Like Sports, Ray Carsillo, top 10 video games of 2024 as we kick off 2025. Again, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 was number 10. Star Wars Outlaws, number 9. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, number 8. Astrobot, number 7. Marvel Rivals, number 6. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, number 5. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, number 4. Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, number 3. Dungeons of Hinterberg, number 2. Dragon Age, the Veilguard, number 1. To me, number 1. No.
But we want to know what you think. So right down at the bottom, what your favorite game of the year is.
Yes, absolutely. Let us know what you think, and we can discuss below. But yeah, before Lee, I'm Ray, and this has been a very special mini-sode of Geeks Who Like Sports. See you all next week. Bye.
The top 10 is like no other, and Ray Carsillo has made them for you. Thank you for watching. See you next year.